7 years she waited. She compromised. She made herself smaller. That one night, she stopped. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She simply walked away and built something that made him regret everything.
There is a particular kind of silence that settles over a person when they have finally stopped waiting for something that was never going to come. It does not announce itself. It simply appears one morning like the tide going out, quietly, completely, and without any intention of returning. Nora Ashfield had been waiting for 7 years. She was 31. She lived in a pale blue cottage on the edge of Whitstable, a small coastal town on the Kent coast, where the air smelled permanently of salt and distance. She ran a small ceramic studio from the ground floor, bowls, plates, mugs glazed in the colours of the sea. It was not a large life, but it was entirely hers, except for Marcus. Marcus Reed was 34, a photographer from London, drawn to the coast for a project that was supposed to last 3 months and stretched into something longer. Charming in the way of people who have learned that charm is useful. He had bought one of her mugs at the market on a wet Saturday in November. He came back the following Saturday, and the one after that. They had been together 4 years, or something like together. Marcus was present and then absent, warm and then distant. He talked about the future the way people talk about places they have never been, enthusiastically and with no intention of going. He said he loved her. She believed him because she wanted to. And wanting something badly enough has a way of making it look like evidence. She had made herself smaller and quieter and more accommodating than she actually was. So gradually, she had almost forgotten there was a version of herself that did not do that. Almost. It was her friend Polly, who ran the bookshop 2 streets from the harbour and had known Nora since they were 7, who said it first. They were sitting in Polly's back room on a Tuesday in January, wine open, rain against the windows. Polly set down her glass and said, "Nora, when did you last do something just for yourself? Not for the studio, not for your dad, not because Marcus needed something, just for you." Nora opened her mouth, then closed it. Polly nodded. "That is what I thought." Nora went home that night and looked at her studio. She looked at the shelf of ceramics she had made over the past year, the ones she had not listed for sale because she liked them too much. The experimental ones, the stranger ones, more fully hers than anything else she had made. She had been treating her own work the way she had been treating herself, keeping the best parts hidden, making sure nothing took up too much space. She listed every piece that same night. By Thursday morning, 11 of 12 had sold. The 12th sold Friday to a gallery owner in London named Harriet Song, who asked if Nora had more work like this and whether she had ever considered a proper exhibition. Nora sat with that message for a long time. Then she wrote back and said yes. She did not tell Marcus. She needed to hold this particular thing close, the way you cup a small flame against the wind before you are certain it will survive on its own. She had been right to be careful. When she finally told him 2 weeks later, over dinner, trying to keep the excitement from her voice and failing, Marcus listened with the expression of a man receiving mildly interesting news about a stranger. "That is great," he said. He refilled his glass. "Did you call your dad today?" Nora looked at him across the table for a long time. He did not notice. He was already reaching for his phone. And something in Nora went very quiet. Not angry, not devastated, just done, the way a tide goes out, quietly, completely. She finished dinner, washed up, went to bed, said nothing. She needed to be sure, not of him, she was already sure of him, but of herself, of whether she was strong enough to choose what she already knew she had to choose. By the end of that week, she knew the answer. She spent the next 6 weeks making new work, larger, stranger, glazed in colors she had never tried, forms with no practical use, things made entirely for the experience of making them. She drove to London 3 times. She redesigned her shop. She said yes to a feature in a respected craft magazine. All of it without mentioning any of it to Marcus. Not out of spite. She had simply realized she had spent 4 years seeking his enthusiasm and receiving the particular deflating mildness of a man incapable of being genuinely excited about anything that did not center him. She had stopped asking. And in stopping asking, she had discovered something remarkable. She did not need it. The exhibition opened on a Friday evening in March at Harriet's Gallery in Shoreditch. She had told Marcus 10 days before. He said he would try to come. She had nodded and known with complete certainty that he would not. He did not. His message arrived at 7:45. She saw it 3 hours later when the gallery had emptied and Harriet was pouring champagne and 17 of 22 pieces had red sold stickers on them. Something had come up. He was sorry. He would make it up to her. Nora put her phone face down and picked up her champagne. She let Harriet introduce her to the buyers, to the magazine editor, to the woman from Edinburgh who wanted to talk about a show in the autumn. She did not go back to Whitstable that weekend. She stayed in London, had breakfast with Harriet, walked the city alone in the afternoon, and understood for the first time in years what it felt like to be somewhere entirely because she wanted to be. She called Marcus on Sunday evening. She told him quietly and without anger that she was ending things. She told him she did not hate him. She wished him well. She meant it. He said, "Nora, wait. She said, "I know, Marcus, but I have somewhere to be." She hung up. She stood at the window looking out at the London rooftops and felt the tears come. Not many, not for long, and not exactly for him, for the years. For the smaller version of herself she was leaving behind on that call. Then she wiped her eyes and replied to the email from the Edinburgh Gallery. The autumn show sold out in advance. The magazine profile brought 40 new wholesale inquiries. By year end, her work was in 3 galleries with a 6-week waiting list online. She moved her studio to a proper workspace on the harbour front. Bigger, brighter, right on the water. She could hear the sea from her wheel every morning. Marcus left Whitstable the following spring. She heard about it from Polly, who mentioned it the way you mention weather. Factual, unremarkable, already past. Nora was in Edinburgh when Polly told her, standing in the gallery watching people look at her work with the quiet attention that meant something in them was being reached. She thought about Marcus for exactly as long as it took to walk from one end of the gallery to the other. Then someone touched her arm and said, "Are you the artist?" She turned around and said, "Yes, I am," and meant it, in a way she had not meant anything in a very long time.
Nora never raised her voice, never made a scene, never gave him the satisfaction of watching her break. She simply got quiet and go to work. Because the most powerful answer to someone who never believed in you is becoming exactly who you always were without them. Have you ever stayed silent and let your life do the talking? Tell me in the comments. And if Nora's story stayed with you, you already know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe the channel.